Yetta, can you work any harder or longer?
I'm giving it all I've got.
Moving forward with the Dekker team. Moving forward together with the Dekker team.
We are honored to welcome you to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Dekker.
And I'm Ken Dekker.
And it's where we get to share thoughts, tips, techniques, tools, and some tactics that we all need. We all deserve. You, I, everyone. So we can turn our house into home, our families thrive, and we get to build wealth wisely through real estate. We're going to consider that this current financial situation and general economic situation, what the impact is on creating the current business situation.
Yeah, businesses.
Which is different than it used to be.
Yeah, businesses are struggling.
Yeah, even ours. Well, it's true,
Yes, it's
right?
true.
Like we're taking different actions because it's even harder than it has been for much of the last 35 years. And what we want to make sure we don't forget about is how do we know how a business is doing and whether we're in trouble or we're not in trouble is by whether or not we take our
vital signs.
the vital signs. And I find when I'm struggling, I don't actually want to know my vitals. It's easier to cover my eyes or cover my ears or close my ears or whatever it is you do when you don't want to know the news.
That doesn't work well. Remember, I used to never check my blood pressure because I knew it would be high.
Which doesn't really help because then you're not doing the right things to help you get it down.
Yeah.
And now you're not on any medication and your blood pressure is normal, which is phenomenal. And that was only possible because you stopped ignoring the vitals because you really knew them, but you didn't really look at them. So then you don't feel like you have to take responsibility for them.
For sure. And, businesses now times have changed. Technology's changed. And when we talk about businesses struggling, I think it's important. You mentioned it right before we went on air that they're not struggling because business owners are slouches.
Right.
Like business owners of small businesses in Canada is considered 1 to 99 employees. But you could be a small business with a couple employees, and usually you're not like sitting back letting them do all the work. You're hands-on. And we're talking small business, maybe even less than 20 employees or 10 employees. That's who we're talking to right now specifically, I think. And you said they're not slouches.
Well,
they're not lazy.
Right. And they haven't lost heart. They have heart for their business. They have passion. They remember why they got into the business in the first place. That's not why only 20% of businesses survive the 10-year mark and 79% of businesses fail in the first year.
Right.
That's not because the people didn't have passion. It's also not because the people didn't know their trade. They know their business. They know their product. They know their service. They have skills. They're well educated in the thing they're passionate about. That doesn't get them in trouble.
No.
It's not that they're not willing to wear 44 hats because they probably have to.
But they may not be good at wearing all those hats. And when we talk about wearing hats, let's just unpack that for a second, because when we talk about wearing a hat, it's like wearing the salesman hat, and then you put on the accounting hat, and then you put on the management hat if you have staff, and then you put on the hat of the buyer who's sourcing the products, and then you put on the hat of the manufacturer if you're the person doing the work, baking the cakes or whatever it is.
And the creative hat for creating good strategy
and then you got to put on the marketing hat. How am I going to get my product out there? Now, our son's noticed that, right? Like he started a farm. He's still a realtor, but he started a farm and he's homesteading. And it was interesting because I've watched him struggle with the different aspects of business ownership. And one of those is production, right? So making sure your product is high quality. But then he got too much production and not enough sales because he forgot about marketing and sales department. And then he realized, I haven't paid my income tax. or I haven't done my income tax thing, so I haven't got a refund because I get a refund because I have a lot of expenses on my business startup. And he wasn't doing his accounting. So there's so many different hats, so to speak, that an entrepreneur, business owner wears.
Right. So what gets in their way is not the stuff that I think often as a business owner, a small business owner for the last 35 years, maybe been blamed for, you know? It's the stuff that gets in our way really falls into 3 core categories.
Yeah. And before we go there, I want to talk about marketing because that's where Ryan was failing, right? And I think marketing is such an important thing. And that's one of the reasons we brought in Amanda Holmes from the Ultimate Sales Machine book. And she's coming to do a boot camp for us in Ottawa on June 5th. And really that's part of it is the marketing arm. How do we create raving fans? How do we support our clients so much that they come out and they want to buy our product?
Or service.
And that's super important. So that's June 5th. Sorry, I almost said 15th. June 5th.
Which is a Thursday. It's a full day, and you're actually going to have, we call it a boot camp because it's going to be a boot camp. You're going to have boots on the ground. Maybe not boots like stomping in the office, but you'll be having your fingers on the keyboard. You'll be writing things. You'll be practicing some things. Amanda will show at least 4 amazing frameworks and give you a chance to touch them all. To bring them into your business. So when you walk out of there, it's not just one of those things where you go and you listen for the day, a seminar, conference. Yeah, it won't be so rah-rah. You'll still have things to do afterwards, but you'll get a really good start on refining some things in your business that's been making the difference for us. Although it's been a hard time for us, it's also been a time where we've been revitalizing some of the things.
Yeah. And so you might be thinking, Yetta said there's 3 reasons that businesses fail. And number 1.
Cash flow or lack of capital. Just not enough money in the business at the beginning to weather those storms that are going to come, because we don't anticipate that we're really going to be highly profitable or decently profitable till probably about 5 years.
Yep.
If you're doing phenomenal, it might be 3 years in, but really for the first 5 years, expect cash drain, not cash abundance.
Yeah.
And so often we don't think it's going to be as tough as it is, so we don't have enough cash.
So that's number 1 is cash. Number 2 is your product doesn't hit the mark. In other words, there wasn't enough research done, enough product information put out there. So you're creating a product that there isn't a high demand for. People don't know about it. They don't even realize they should be demanding it. So you're missing the mark there.
And then number 3 is what Ken was starting to say, marketing or lack of implementation or strategy. Lack of a solid, not just marketing strategy, but strategy overall, and then not implementing enough.
So what I'm asking is, what would be a small business that you either support this week, like 1 to 3, go out and support a small business, in other words, buy their product, and or invite them to this boot camp. And we're glad that we can be positioning you to build wealth wisely, because it's about much more than just money.
Moving forward with the Dekker team. Moving forward